and software engineering. Dr. Padmaja published 14 research papers in journals and in conferences of very high repute like SCI and Web of Science, elsewhere publications. She achieved NPTEL Star Appreciation Award from IIT Madras for completion of many courses through online NPTEL certifications with elite grade and FDPs under her discipline. Dr. Padmaja holds life membership in ISTE. Her focal research interests fall in machine learning, data mining, algorithms, and software engineering. I request Dr. D. Lakshmi Padmaja ma'am to please take over the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your good introduction about me. I'm very thankful to, first of all, the principal, Dr. R.N. Kher, sir, coordinator of the FDP, today's session. And the co-coordinators are Dr. M.V. Padmavati, madam, professor and head for this institute, and the other coordinators, and Dr. Patnaik, who is giving the sending links and supporting and the continuity reminding me yesterday also that tomorrow session is there, like that, Dr. Patnaik sir, and all other organizers behind the screen. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say that the earlier I have given outcome-based education. I am in my college, I will give in the outcome-based education. I'm the resource person across branches in our college, and also have given one of the session in Telangana state, the government college. They have invited me to give a research and its importance. That session I have given. This second time I'm getting this here. I'm very happy to thankful to Dr. Padmavati madam. Thank you for your introduction. Thank you, sir. And I will take my session. Let me share my screen. Is it my screen is share visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it is audible also. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. And today's session, this 13th session, whatever is there, their main FDP is here, the machine learning using Python. Very good title. Nowadays, the thrust area, according to AICTE, also machine learning is one of the important points. So many thrust areas are there. Out of that, machine learning is a very important. Using Python. Python is a scripting language which supports the OOPS concepts, right? The implementation of supervised and unsupervised. Here, the title consists of the concepts combination with the programming language, right? The supervised and unsupervised learning is the machine learning concepts. These concepts, the implementation using Python is the main agenda of today's class. Now, what are the topics I would discuss? Please. Yeah. Today agenda is the machine learning and the types of machine learning. What are there? Supervised and unsupervised learning. And in addition to, we have the reinforcement learning also there. And the majority of the topics here, everybody knows. As a point of the machine learning, they can study either in their post graduation or in some other sessions they have attended as a student phase or teaching phase. They might have studied, but my experiences during research, first I would like to inform, because this will help you, maybe helpful for the research group, those who are doing research. For that group, it is helpful. Initially, I would like to start my session with a very important terminology using machine learning. Lot of confusion it will give. Confusion in the sense in before literature survey you want to do very initial stage. By that time, what happens is I will study one statistical model related paper. Sometimes I will read the some other genomics related paper. Sometimes I will read the business marketing related paper. But my interest is ultimately the machine learning connected only, but because of their domain difference they will use a different terminology, right? When I faced, because when I did my research, by that time I have faced some problem in the sense, some confusion, right? It takes unnecessarily, it takes time, right? I would like to put those problems are probably majority of the people may know it is good, otherwise the other people it will help, right? So the importance is here, what I want to say here, the most important terminology, whatever you are using in our machine learning, the area, bias and variance in whenever I have modeled, what is overfitting, what is underfitting, the regularization, confusion matrix, precision recall, accuracy of measure, variation, inflation factor. This is important. Always will concentrate on the statistical inference is required. You know very good supervised learning and unsupervised learning algorithms. You know individually Python, but when you are combining, when you are experimentation you are doing with your technique with the Python, what are the statistical measures you are performing, and what is the inference you are building, that is very important for your research paper, right? So that is important. And multi-collinearity and correlation, all these are all connected to some statistics. Number of dimensions you took to decide whether the suitable for particular algorithm is not, to check how many dimensions are there in your data set, that also I would like to mention how it is possible. And comparison of algorithms, different algorithms already have learned in so many sessions are completed till now. The supervised and unsupervised, and Python technology, lists and tuples, and pandas, which is a data analysis tool, right? And matplotlib, that is a graphical representation or a visual representation tool. All these you have experimented are known in the previous sessions. So that my main agenda is, what are the problems we are facing, you know, individually. Say for example, I will say I know very well C language, I know the even number, I know the program how to write, but I don't know the concept of even number concept. Say for example, I want to write an even number program. What is there? The concept fundamental you should know as a basic knowledge. That is, the any number is divided by 2, remainder is equal to 0, then only it is even number, otherwise it's odd number. The concept you should know, then only you can write the program, right? Even though you know very well the program, if you don't know the concept, there is no use. So the implementation is only, we have fortunately nowadays you have large libraries available in online. First of all, I would like to thank, I great acknowledgements to all the online material, freely available online material, either it may be a documents or it may be YouTube videos or anything. I gratefully acknowledge to all the people, because everyone can use it for your research purpose, right? So in this context, I am very thankful to them. Now, I would like to say, that's why the what is the data set you are taking, what kind of algorithm suitable to you. The gradient boost technique purpose is also helpful for in the kind of random forest and such kind of supervised learning algorithms. And how large your training set, and understand the kind of data set, model concept. Now, actually, we will come to when how to build the model. What is the step-by-step procedure when you want to do the model, when you are including your supervised learning algorithm. And also this model steps consists of how to install SciPy, NumPy, Matplotlib, Pandas, sklearn. Already I have, you are aware of it, I assume. And loading the data set, summarizing the data set, this is important, right? And not only that, how you have to visualize by seeing pictorially, graphically, what is your inference, that is important. Because for anything, whatever you have written a theory, ultimately you are able to write the results, right? Results in a appropriate fashion, whether it is good or bad, you should explain, right? And that is one of the content in our today's agenda. And evaluation metrics are there, like confusion matrix, accuracy, some other measurements, distances, right? And some predictions based on that we do. So this today's agenda. Now basically this already you have idea, but before that I would like to a brief introduction about supervised learning and unsupervised learning. What is supervised learning here? Input and output will be labeled for any data that is possible. Input and output both are there. Labeled data is given to you so that you can model it and you can perform the experimentation, get the predict the value. Based on that you can take a decision. That is a supervised learning. Under supervised learning, we have so many examples are there. One is especially you have so many two varieties are the classification and regression. In classification we'll have the fraud detection, general examples. You can go some other also there. Generally people will have an idea, email spam, whether mail is correct or not to check. That is also diagnostics, when medical diagnostics, when you want to do image classification and risk assessment and score prediction. All these are all comes from the supervised learning. Unsupervised learning, because which is also consists of the clustering. So the madam said that don't do the clustering, so that I'm concentrating only the dimensionality reduction, which is dimensionality reduction is a unsupervised learning. Basically, what is unsupervised learning? You don't have any labeled data, only input will there, labeled data. For example, a baby will identify the dog and cat. How a small baby will identify the cat and dog, how it is possible based on the previous experience. You don't have any label, right? Unsupervised learning is nothing but without intervention of the user. User will not do any support like supervised learning. So in supervised learning, the user will support, he will supervise according to you do that. Prediction can be done. But whereas in unsupervised learning, you don't have the any labels, class labels will not be there. And based on the experience, we do. So our concentration is on the dimensional reduction, not on the clustering. And reinforced learning, anyway, you know that the nowadays the driverless car and all will come under that reinforcement learning. And basically you have the idea is here, the supervised, our context is machine learning types are supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Mainly my focus is in supervised learning, a little part of the unsupervised learning. Here supervised learning will have the regression and classification. And best examples I said, no, you can take the regression is like a taxi free house pricing, and which location, if I buy a house, what are the parameters I need to look into, is in the center location is there or not built, and what is the SFT and each SFT price, right? Everything, so many, the how far distance from the city, and is it a ground floor or fifth floor or 10th floor, like that. You have so many parameters are there. Those parameters to predict the regression technique will be useful in general. And similarly, the classification also, spam filter, spam mails will come there also, you do that. Sentimental analysis, like based on the sender, if you buy any product through Amazon or Flipkart, you will have the good or bad. You will say that no, the product, they will give a feedback. What is that? Very good, good or bad, like that. That is a sentimental answer based on happy or joy, sad. All these are, sentiments will come, right? Based on this, also you can these examples will be under classification technique. So my focus is on supervised learning. Now come to the point here. Briefly, I would like to mention the supervised learning algorithm. Everybody knows the regression will have the different algorithms. What are the regression will have the different algorithms, classification algorithms? Linear regression, random forest, multi-layer perceptron, ADA boost, gradient boost, convolution neural networks. All these are all different supervised learning algorithms. Regression means all data points will on a straight line, where it is how far from the main straight line, it is the attributes observation, you do that. All observations you use this regression. And the classification, if you come to that, either true or false kind of data will be there. I said very clear, majority of the people will confuse for linear regression and logistic regression. Whenever logistic regression is there, people will think that regression is there automatically, so that it is also a regression technique. No, it is wrong. It is not a regression technique. Logistic regression is a classification technique. Only you will have the true or false kind of answers will be there, right? Means like discrete data. You know, the categorical data is a kind of discrete data or the continuous data. The continuous data, best examples we can give the like height, weight, time, all these I can give as an examples, because continuous data will be there. Weight, suppose 60.5 kg, or height 5.5 height will be there. Height will be there. Like all these examples for continuous data. Whereas the regression will consist of the only the discrete in nature. Discrete in nature means what? You will have either 1 or 0, or true or false, or yes or no kind of data will be there. For that such data sets we do the regression. And here the confusion point is here. Classification will have the logistic regression. The last term is regression is there. People will think that it is a regression technique. Absolutely wrong. Logistic regression is a classification technique, not a regression technique. Whereas here in regression technique only we will concentrate on the whether true or false kind of answers only will check, right? Not continuous values data. And which will help you to separate your group of classes. This is one class, this is another class, second class. These two classes, whether it is separating or not, this set of balls are in this side and these plus symbols are other side. So you are separating. The classification means you are female, male. If you want to do that, again it comes under the discrete, right? So male, female is a like male is 1, female is 0, like that. If you take that regression technique, but the classification data points all consist of the continuous data. Okay, please understand. Now I would like to go for the all these already I have people the experts have explained in the previous sessions, but anyway the brief introduction is required. It is very important for a current research group. Majority you feel difficult, or there may be confusion. Even I too faced when initial stage, when I do the literature survey. By that time I have faced suppose in some papers they will write the columns, in some other paper they will write the features. Suppose if you go to the bioinformatic or genomic kind of data, there the people will use the only features. Because I'm using whiteboard, people will use the only features. And in some papers will use the attributes. In some statistical paper, if you take a statistical connected paper, if you see, all the people will use the predictors, right? In general we'll call it as variables. So all are synonyms. Please understand, first of all, if any paper will consist of different terminology, first for understanding the terminology takes time. Instead of the understanding the technology or understanding the concept, first understanding the terminology also will takes a lot of time. So please understand the synonyms here: columns, features, attributes, predictors, variables, all are similar. Similarly, rows, objects. So whenever a data set is like this, right? A data set is like this. I wanted to find out all these rows. This is data. All these are all rows. All these are all columns. Yes, everybody knows this. Row 1, row 2, row 3, like this. and this is column 1, column 2, column 3, and so on. And in our data, last is the my output will is available. That is also a one of the column. The last column will give you as the label, class label. Strictly say that the people will call in different terminology. Some people will say that output, some people will say that y, some people will say that class label, some people will say that a target variable, like that. Please, here, this is the your output. Okay, all are similar. And similarly, rows are also considered objects, instances, samples, training examples, observations, population and data points. In marketing point of that, you will use data points. Database point of view, you use the records or marketing also. Population terminology will use in the statistical papers. Suppose if you go in training examples in genomic related or bioinformatics connected related papers are there, they use the terminology training examples, right? So please understand all these are all rows. Ultimately, our interest is either it may be a row or object or instance, samples, training examples, observations, population, data points, records, all are same. Okay. So I think you have good idea about it now. And columns, features, attributes, predictors, variables are all columns. And class labels, I said no, in my data set, last column is there. That is my output actually, which is connected to the, some class label in are also target variable. Some people will call with target variable. Okay. Now, another terminology in statistics, especially the dispersion. Some people will call dispersion in the when you revise your papers, literature survey time. Some people will call variability. Some people will call scatter. Some people will call spread of your data points, of whatever the observations are there. That the terminology will use in different papers will use different terminology, but all are same. Okay. Next. If I want to go to the briefly the variance, what is the variance? Variance is nothing but spread out from the mean. Whatever here it is there, this is the mean is there. How this is the mean, right? From the mean, how much it is spread. That is the variance I will take. And bias also usually we use in machine learning, which is a true value. From true value, how much its deviation is there. And if you go to the what kind of high bias and low bias, what kind of model will have a high bias and low variance also you should know. Before implementation, first you have to analyze the data and understand the data and which kind of columns are available. Is there any redundancy is there or not? Is there any missing values are there or not? If you know, then only that data you can apply for your algorithm, for your model. So there also you will get the some high bias and low variance. What is high bias and what is low variance? Suppose if I take any data here, right? So what are the values here will come? Usually more attributes are there. If more attributes are there and less number of samples are there, that is called overfitting. Generally, whenever attributes and less samples or rows, for your understanding. More attributes, less samples, or more features, less samples will comes under the overfitting of your data. Always my model will try to get the best fit. How do I know whether I will get the underfitting or overfitting? By validation test. Okay, so please come to here. High bias and low variance is comes under the underfitting. Underfitting is nothing but what? Less number of more number of samples and less number of attributes. Less attributes, less attributes or columns also you call. Less columns and more rows, or you can say that objects, anything. All are the terminology is same. So by that time underfitting will happen. So for which kind of data you will get the high bias and low variance, I will show you as a pictorially, because more features are there. Say for example, for better understanding, always you will learn the definition, not definition. simple example, I'm teaching to my students a data mining course. Always, if I teach, it's all the total 16 weeks. If I teach, only training is happening, no testing. Am I right or not? So, what is the problem? You cannot judge the model is correct whether they have understood or not, or also you don't know. So, by that time, I will have the testing part also. So, please understand here more attribute. Overfitting the data means more attributes are there in your data, then overfitting will come. At the same time, by that time, whenever more features are there, it may overfit for your model. Your precautions, what to do: reduce the unnecessary features, irrelevant features which is not appropriate to your data set. Such type of features, try to reduce it. So fewer features combinations only use it. Decrease the number of numerical attributes or whatever unnecessary are there, that you try to do that. And one more important, we have very good technique is there: regularization. What is regularization? Regularization will help you to reduce your overfit, right? So always the model will try to the build the best fit. For getting best fit, it should neither overfit or neither underfit. To get the best fit, you always, if it is overfit, let us assume after experimentation, what you have to do, you check your data, which is some many redundancy is there, unnecessary type of data is repeating number of times. So dimensionality reduction, people usually use a curse of dimensionality. What is the curse of dimensionality? If more data dimensions are there, unnecessary dimensions are there, you try to reduce it. Irrelevant data, that you have to monitor. So regularization is the best technique under overfitting to eliminate. And whereas underfitting, here in underfitting, what happens? The number of attributes are less, number of samples are more. So by the time underfitting will happen. By that time, what you have to do, you have to try to more increase the more attributes. Suppose simple example, like car is there. For that car, only whether I need to buy or not, a car is good or bad, how do you say? Based on its performance of individual parameter, individual predictor, individual attributes. What are the attributes? Car engine, its speed and its fuel type, and the length or bonnet, whatever you are using, or is it any power window is there or not, anything. What are the number of features? If you increase only, you can have very good performance will come. So you have to, whenever underfitting is happening, you try to increase the number of features and reduce the number of samples. Too many samples are there, if less number of attributes are there, there is a problem in one way. Too many attributes are there, less number of samples also, that is another problem. Okay, so please observe. I said no, graphical representative underfit, always I will try for the best fit. And you observe what is a, it's a like a graph. Don't imagine what is this graph. Overfitting will have the more test error, because I said example, no, I'm teaching data mining subject to my students always without keeping test. Usually how it will be your course structure: after 2.5 minutes we'll have the first mid, in second year 2.5 minutes another second mid, at the end you will get the final test will be there, right? You will conduct in such a way. If you don't conduct those tests, where the students are there, whether they are understanding my topic or not, I'm unable to do. So when you don't do the test, the test error will increase. Test error will increase. In overfitting, test error will increase. Only trying part is more, no testing part. Whereas if you observe in underfitting, what you happen here, the training error is less. In the overfitting, gradually it will down. Initially, training error is very high in the underfitting. This because no training. If I don't give any training on data mining concepts to my students, directly if I test, they may not get good mark. Those are very few students may get are 10% or 20%, because they don't have any idea about it, that concept, right? So test error is very high in overfitting. Training error is very low in the overfitting. You think only one side, then automatically test error is high in overfitting means naturally that is low in underfitting, right? You think in that. And the complexity, this is what is the complexity. You take an x-axis, the error is you are taking on the y-axis. And bias and variance always, I will say, no, high variance in overfitting, especially what I said, more attributes are there or more columns are there. Because why I am talking, please understand, in a data set, first you have to understand how many columns are there, what type of columns are there, what type of data is available, is it a categorical or ordinal, like that you should have idea, right? So more attributes and columns, and less number of samples is available here. In overfitting, the high variance and less bias will be there. High variance and less bias will be. That's why more testing error is there. Testing error also I will call it as generalization error. Usually, if you observe genomic kind of papers, they will call only generalization error. Initially, you don't know what is generalization error. Meaning here more attributes. Because of more attributes, you are getting the problem. There is no testing facility is available for that particular data set, right? That is the generalization causes. So please understand this term. Mostly you will get in majority of the people, majority of the research papers. Okay. Now in underfitting example, I will take that as the low variance and high bias. How do you hear? This the bias is high here. Slowly when it is going to overfitting side, it is low, right? Whereas in underfitting, the variance is very low. So for underfitting, high bias and low variance. For underfitting, high bias and low variance. For not to get this, what I said again, you to not to get underfitting, you try to capture more parameters or the predictors or the attributes for a data set, so you can perform good for your model. So this is also we will concentrate on in our uh, project, Python project. The regularization, I said, no, this is the best example for overfitting the data. This is a good technique. Just give better performance for mod. And also I use some cost function here. Usually this to do for implementation of regularization, I'll use the cost functions, and I will remove some useless data points here. What is a data point? I said just previously, I'm talking sometimes some terminology. Means data points is nothing but the observations or rows for your understanding, right? So for this implementation of these regulation techniques, you have lasso regression and L2 regression or ridge regression. Why we need a confusion matrix? Always we will have 2 by 2 or 3 by 3. Suppose matrix is there. Here always true positive and true negative, false positive, false negative. Your matrix will be there. So what is true? This is correctly classified. The total is correct. This diagonal, the principal diagonal, what I am seeing is the correct. Which are incorrect. Incorrect means how many types of errors may occur? 2 types of errors may occur. Suppose a cancer patient will have test is showing that no cancer. Cancer patient have no cancer, that test is giving. That is a type 1 error, which is a false positive. Why? Because please understand here why type 1 error. Majority people will for this also the confusion. What is type 1 error? Which is the high risk. Here more risk is there. He is a cancer patient. The test is telling that no cancer is there. It is a very risk, because if no cancer is there, people will take light, because anyway no risk and no cancer is there, no need to take a treatment. So that is a problem. That's why it is a type 1 error. Another one is what, those people are not having cancer, the test is showing that they will have the cancer. That is a type 2 error. Okay, no problem. But for some time without having cancer, it's showing cancer, they feel bad unnecessarily they got. But the health will not deteriorate, right? The health will not disturb in type 2. They will take another test and then they will judge in the second test or in third test. They don't have cancer, they will identify. But which is a more risk? FP is more risk. Always you will see the confusion matrix. What is the importance? The false positives are more important. This is the type 1 errors. Those who are having cancer, if you say that no cancer, they will take light. They don't take much importance. Anyway, no cancer is there, no treatment is required. But when days goes on, it will increase. So the confusion matrix is also very important. And these 2 by 2 matrix or 3 by 3 matrix, how do you know the confusion matrix? Based on your class labels. What is a class label? It's a data consists of the last column will have the all class labels are there. Like any data set you take, all the rows are available. This is my y. Y means the predicted variable or class label or target variable, whatever you call that. Y consists the, suppose some set of all are female. Let us I am taking 1. All are for female, I am taking 1. For male, I am taking 0. Always you have to convert into ones and zeros only to calculation purpose. Okay. So 2 classes are there in the entire data set. Only 2 classes are there. So I will get the confusion matrix 2 by 2. If the class labels, some class labels, suppose if you see in data mining textbook, one example is there, whether to play or not to play, whether windy or it is missed, like that. So many parameters are available. If you observe, probably they may have the 3 class labels, right? Or if you go to the another data set, associate professor, assistant professor, you categorize how many professors are there in our associate professors are there, how many professors are there, how many assistant professors are there. If you want to categorize, that will give the another class of groups. So based on your class groups, I will get the confusion matrix. And classification accuracy is will tell you just like that. It's evaluation performance of your model. What it will do, the total number of predictions in numerator, the number of correct total number of predictions you will keep in the denominator. How many are correctly predicted, that you will take it as a numerator. That is the classification accuracy will be. Probably you may have idea, but the minimum idea should have. The confusion matrix, I said no, this is very important. This is correctly classified. Whatever cancer is there, the test is also showing cancer. Cancer is not there, test is also showing no cancer. But this is the problem. The reverse diagnosis is the problem. Actually, the errors are there. And majority of the people confuse here also. What is a precision, recall? Sometimes they will, in some papers, they will call sensitivity. Some people, they will call precision or recall. Like that. The terminology I will tell you. Please observe here. I will call the recall or sensitivity or true positive rate. All are same. Recall, sensitivity, true positive rate. Some papers will use some terms, some other papers will use some other terms. TNR, true negative rate or specificity are the same. These two are. And I said no, very clear. The precision recall, you will have the whenever it is my confusion matrix. In my confusion matrix, this is a true positive. This is uh, true positive, and true negative. All these will be there. No, here in true negative, what do you have? This is true negative. This is false positive. This is false negative. Based on this, precision will tell you true positive. This is precision. True positive by true positive plus false positive. This is precision. Where if you consider the horizontal, true positive by true positive plus false negative is your recall. Recall also I will call sensitivity, the other name, or I can call true positive rate. Okay. And specificity is separate. Only recall will call, other name is sensitivity. Specificity, other name is true negative. Here the this one is the formula is true negatives by true negatives plus false. If you understand one thing, the remaining all formulas we can write comfortably. And F1 is the reciprocal of the precision, that we know. Accuracy, you know, already I said no. What is this accuracy? Just now I said how many correctly classified, how many correctly classified out of total classification. These are all total number of classifications. Out of that, how many correctly classified, that is your accuracy. Okay, please go through that because I'm skipping, you know very well. And evaluate the classification model using this. Here predict how many records are predicted correctly, that is your recall, and how many are actually positive, that is your precision. Okay. And that what I said just now. Go to the, you do an example, no problem. The F1 score, this I'm skipping because precision and recall, based on that also I can take a judgment. In confusion matrix, precision, recall, F1 score. And very important is F1 score is dealt with the false positive and false negatives. Usually, if you observe, this is important. Remember, always I will consider accuracy will tell you what actually the correctly classified by total number of classifications. This is accuracy. So here what I am doing, true positives and true negatives only I am concentrating. Whereas numerator, what is the correctly classified? True positives and true negatives only, this numerator, right? That I am concentrating. Whereas F1 score will concentrate on false positives and false, means reverse diagonal will concentrate your F1 score. This you are concentrating your F1 score. What it will tell you for my the inference, again I'm talking, why I'm mentioning thoroughly, because this based on this exactly can judge F1 score is high or low. False positives and false negatives are high, means your error is more. Your model is saying that your error is, you're evaluating your performance is not giving good, right? So check your F1 score according to again take necessary actions for your application. And I would like to said no earlier, the unsupervised learning is nothing but which will not have any user intervention, only the system automatically will do. So for that dimensional reduction I said, so as a part of the dimensionality reduction will comes here. uh, One of this is variance inflation factor, VIF is a statistical term. Simple meaning is, which is whether your model will have the multicollinearity or not. To know, the VAF will help you. VAF will help for what? Multicollinearity is there or not. That is to check. What is multicollinearity? Suppose my data set consists of so many attributes are there. So many attributes are there here. In the all the attributes to attributes, if you check, each attribute is repeating again with some other name. Suppose x1, x2, x3, and so on, xn, right? X2 and x3 are similar type of data, or same information is giving, means it shows the redundancy. So multicollinearity means whether they are highly correlated or the similar type of data you are giving or not, will check with the help of VIF. VIF lot of importance is there, especially for pre-processing point of view. Whenever it is there, you want to remove, suppose both are same, I want to remove x3 column because same data is there in x2 and x3, I want to remove x3, right? So redundancy is there or not, to check VIF will help you in especially in Python. Now for corrections, very important, the reciprocal of VIF also I will call it as tolerance. Now VF is if VIF holds in between 2 to 5, it is acceptable. Suppose VF is the number is greater than 5, your dataset may have redundancy. Your dataset may have redundancy. If you reach 10 and above, this is highly multicollinearity, means same data is there. High collinearity is there. Here means each attribute to another attribute, similar type of data is there. Whenever same data is there in all the columns, what is the use in evaluation of your model? No use, right? So you have to try to, based on your VIF factor also, I will whether to reduce or not to, how to do is very important. And for this, the precautions are how to reduce. The what you do, removing high correlated variables. X2, X3 are highly correlated. So I want to remove such either X2 or X3, I will remove from my data set. And use the PCA. PCA actually is a feature extraction technique, or PLS also. Or you identify the scatter plot. If I draw any visualization tool, using that scatter plot, I will identify which attributes are more correlated, which is giving high redundancy, more redundancy is there. I will identify and I will remove it. So correlation, please understand, this is important, and scatter plot is important, and VAF is important for your inference of your data. Whether data is correctly or not, I will show you with example. Correlation, scatter plot, VAF. VAF will help you to whether your attributes are highly correlated or not. Highly correlated variables or highly correlated attributes are not to check. If my number is between 2 to 5, it is acceptable. If the number is greater than 5, you may have your data set consists of some redundancy. If it reaches 10 and above, highly correlated, so that by that time you have to remove unnecessarily. Even though you are very good accuracy, no use, because your entire data set is redundant. Now, one more important is come to the dimension. You can look at the decide here. Whether number of training examples, which algorithm is useful, what dimensionality, which is feature space we are using, how many training examples are there, or your data set is linearly separable or not. Linearly separable, whether I need to use the SVM or random forest or anything, SVM or linear SVM is useful or not. Features are really independent. We assume in normal distribution, all features are independent. In reality, it's not correct. All features are not independent, right? In real scenario, but we assume and we will start. And features expected to linear dependent with the target variable, overfitting expected to the problem. What are the system requirements for to run? As some of the people will ask you, GPU or CPU is used nowadays in the machine learning technique. When high-end data set, if you are using, probably sometimes GPU also is used. But normal 16 GB or 32 GB RAM, that is for a minimum. It is sufficient for smaller projects. If you want more, you have to go for the GPU, right? And a few importance also to look here: the confidence interval and coefficient of variance. If your coefficient of variation is that sigma is the standard deviation, mu is the mean. Sigma by mu, you will get the coefficient of variation. If it is less than 10, it is very good. It is in between 10 to 20, that is good. 20 to 30 is acceptable. Greater than 30 is not acceptable. That is one of that. And one more is sparse data. What is a sparse data? Your data consists of only less number of data. You don't have full-fledged data set is not there. If very less data is there, how to interpret? That is also one of the important. And different algorithms, I will say. What is the different algorithms here? Spam detection algorithm. Very important point is which algorithm is suitable for. No one will tell how many features are there, how many samples are there, then your model will become best fit. But for logistic regression, you may have the theoretical knowledge. Minimum 5 features has to be there, and minimum 25 records are there. Records means rows, right? Records are there. Then logistic regression will work. Okay, and at the same time, logistic regression will not work if the amount of observations are lesser than the amount of features. That is very important. Please remember, if your amount of observations are lesser than the amount of features, logistic regression will not work. No useful. Okay, that is one more. And decision tree, which algorithm is useful for your model, that you decide. Until unless you don't have thorough knowledge of each algorithm, you cannot apply particular algorithm for particular model. Okay, now LDA and LDA is also one linear discriminant analysis, which is a linear technique. Similar to, you have the another one is also PCA is a feature extraction technique, that is also linear. That is, you use it here, required model. There you will find out the principal component analysis. And SVM will have the for separability of two classes views. Mostly it is useful. So which one is better? I said no. If it is a text classification, SVM is better. And random forest algorithms for usually random forest is giving more accuracy compared to SVM in the majority of the applications because of its randomization. Of course, it will have its own problem also because of randomization. Hyperparameter tuning here also will be there. Hyperparameter tuning means controlling your learning process. Here, hyperparameters means what? You are controlling your overall learning process. You are controlling so that you will build the particular algorithm with good results. That is one more. And so many algorithms are there. I think in supervised algorithm they have explained, but I would like to say briefly. This is the linear regression and logistic regression. In linear regression, I said no very clear. Logistic regression, because the regression name is there, the people will think that this is a regression technique. First of all, even I too also very initial stage I forgot very early stage. It's a regression. No, it's absolutely wrong. Logistic regression is a classification technique and which uses the discrete variables, whereas linear regression is like continuous regression technique and which uses the continuous variables. Continuous variables, you said no, continuous values will be there like real values, the height, weight, time, all these which are the decimal values, right? And also I would like to mention before that VIF, one more advantage is if your data is like 200, 10,000, 1 lakh, like this, such type of data is there. For prediction point of view, it is very difficult, right? You have to, VIF will help you to know about your data, how your data is there, 200,000, 10,000. That means all elements are within a range 0 to 1. Why we will normalize to particular state to comes under the normal, the parabolic curve, right? So that also this will help you. And logistic regression and linear regression also please identify, and that is important. Here you are observing the linear regression is on X independent. All are we are assuming usually normal distribution or Gaussian distribution, or some people will with other name also normal distribution, Gaussian distribution, the standard distribution. All are same, right? Some paper will use with some name. So X is the independent variable, Y is a dependent variable. Whenever my line is like this, A0, A1, all are the dependent, where Y is the, sorry, Y is not A0, A1 are independent variables. All independent variables will take on X-axis, and Y-axis you will write your target variable or output. Okay. So for looking purpose, it's a straight line linear regression. Logistic regression, you will use some sigmoid function here. And one more difference is here, the range is between 0 and 1 only. The data will be in between 0 and 1. Here minus infinity to plus infinity, anything may happen. Right. And if I go to the, all these are also same, ridge regression, lasso regression, all are a part of the regularization. Bagging, boosting, ensemble methods are, these are all, bagging and boosting are the techniques, gradient boost, all these are techniques which will help you to improve your performance of your algorithm. Actually, these are all not classifiers, these are the techniques. Gradient boost, bagging, boosting are the techniques to help in such a way to improve your performance of your model. Yes, that's what I was telling that. Especially when you want to do with random forest, this will help you to improve your, this is a technique for regression and classification problems, we will use it, but especially in the random forest, it will give you very good result, which is the optimal parameters you can use that can decide with that help. And how large is your training set also, you have to think of it. Based on that, whether it is a high bias or low variance, or low bias or high variance, I can set according to, I will take a appropriate algorithm. I said the best example for logistic regression, I said no, less number of samples are there, then it is not work out, logistic regression. So you think of it, which one is the training set is growing, which training set is small. Based on that, you will start your project. And very important is kind of data set you should know. So if suppose I'm using it is linearly separable, my data set is possible, then which type of kernel you're using for SVM, and when you are using k nearest neighbor algorithm, what distance measures you are using. You have the Euclidean distance and Manhattan distance, right? And some other Hamming distance. So many distance measures are there. Which distance you are using in your KNN, and what is the k value, depends on that also. Your performance will be varied. Here, the hyperparameter tuning, I said no. Very important is which gives the hyperparameter tuning will done, because the overall control of learning process is in your hand. Then only it will give good result. And how do I select machine learning algorithms? Based on this, already I explained just now. Okay, some are linear, some are non-linear. This is your learning phase. Initially, I'll give the training data. That training data I'll store as a feature vector spice. Then I will give some algorithm, some supervised learning algorithm, and I will construct the code, and I will test it and get the result. I'll predict the result. Okay. Yes. Come to the point now. Exactly. Model construction. Here in model construction, mainly we have the inputs and outputs, right? And correction between the, if you take in a house prediction, price prediction of a house, what is the input parameters? The footage, how many square feet is there for each square feet, how much cost, and where it is located. All these you have the different parameters. Especially if I want to give the relationship between the footage and the price, the relationship will be given here. And some are the labels I said no, attributes as well as the rows. Rows will give you number of data points for the experimentation. Attributes of your data, each attribute some significance is there. All are independent. We will assume and we will start our project. Okay. And very important is, sorry, come to the agenda directly. First, you know how to install the Python SciPy, because I want to show as a one project how to implement it. All commands list I will send it to you. For typing it takes time. Simply copying and executing it's very convenient to you. Only the essence of this session is how to do this, on which area you have to concentrate on: data set and inference, and removing and pre-processing, removing unnecessary data, doing the pre-processing, and visualize it according to take a decision and predict. All these are all the different steps under this. And you have to install the Python. I think everybody knows. Simply you can in Google, if you go to the SciPy is a large library which is connected to the Python. And NumPy is also for two-dimensional or multi-dimensional type of data. I use the NumPy. Matplotlib especially I use for the visualization. Seaborn is also for visualization, like a scatter plot, and all these will be helpful. Visualization is a graphical representation. By showing the graphical representation, anybody will have an idea where they belong. Right? And Pandas is a analysis tool. This you have already studied. And Matplot is also a visualization tool. Like this, you have another one is also Seaborn, right? Seaborn is also another one is there. And sklearn is the my scikit-learn will help you to all the modules or the packages are available into that. And loading the data set and summarizing the data set, visualizing the data set, evaluate is important. Okay, I will show you slowly. And Anaconda, I am using Jupyter. Download the Anaconda. Already I hope you have done in the previous sessions. You have studied how to install Anaconda. Already have done. And come to the point here. Yes, the important pandas as PD. PD is my analysis tool. I said no. NP is every here I use always the data frames. Everything will be stored in the two-dimensional array or three-dimensional array or multi-dimensional array, right? It in terms of the rows and columns, the data frames will be there. Okay, so this NPy is here is helpful, and Matplotlib is helpful for the visualization, which will build on the NumPy as well as SciPy. And scikit-learn, especially you have lot of libraries are there. Please understand the implementation for doing only typing that command, copy that command and paste at your command prompt. Simply you can enter it. There is no speciality is there. But your inference is very important for your doing a project. Okay. And classification, regression, clustering, dimensional reduction, so many packages are available in scikit-learn. Okay. Go there and check it. I want to import so many libraries are there. I will tell you few here. Read CSV. Read CSV is a class taken from the Pandas library that I am taking to read my data. Read the data set, read CSV, I use it. Simply copy the, sometimes what happens is typing also will do this a lot of mistakes. Simply copy that command and execute it your command prompt, easily you can do that. Scatter matrix will do what? Simply which shows a pictorial representation or graphical representation. Train, test and training and testing you do. And that I will, yes, very important, please everybody concentrate here. I want to mention why should we train and test. Already I said with example whenever I'm teaching common class to my students, without testing, only training you do, you will have the test error. Without training, if you do the testing, you will have the training error is high, right? Underfitting, underfitting. So what you have to do here, I will take, please remember, I think majority of the people may know or don't know, but visualizing factor I'm showing. This is my data set. First, if you understand this terminology, even though if I show in Python, you will understand thoroughly, right? So here, what I'm doing is, this is row 1, row 2, like this. All these are all different rows. These are all columns. Here, all variables x1, x2, x3, and so on. Some variables are there. Last one is y. Y is nothing but my class label. Y is nothing but my class label. Whenever a data set has given to you, any type of data set, it is maybe a cancer data set, a breast cancer data set, or car data set, or any data set, what you have to do, the data set you have to divide into the two parts. What is the two parts? Training and testing. You know, in Vecka tool, if you anyone are having the idea default, it will give you 66% will be taken as a training. The remaining out of 100, the remaining will take as the test. This is the training. They will default setting will be given. Otherwise, I can write 80-20 is one part, or 70-30 is another part, like that. 70% training, 30% testing. 80% training, 20% testing, like that I can do. So, okay, for time being, I will take 80-20, let us assume. So, I want to take 80% of data, I'm considering as the, this is training, right? Especially, this is called, I will call for your understanding, this is training, no? So, I will write the relevant terminology, Y train. This is class label, no? Last column, please remember, this is my output. All the individual columns are your attributes. All these are all attributes. Okay, Y is my class label. Here, this is my Y train. Means class label given to you because it's a supervised learning. And this, whatever I'm taking, the up to here I will take, right? This part, I will write it as a Y test. Right. Here, I will do the model, the entire that point I will give as a training. So here, what is this part? This is a Y train. Suppose what is this part? That whatever blue part I have given, that blue part I will tell you as the X train. And what is this part? This part I will tell you as my X test. Please understand, majority people have the doubt on this. This is a data set. Data set consists of attributes and columns. Last column is my class labels. In my data set, first what I am doing is I am dividing into 80-20 or 60-30, 60-40, like that. Training and testing data set I will divide, and I will construct a model. Construction of the model is nothing but what? For any algorithm, you will pump train the mission by providing X train and Y train. What is X train? X train is some attributes. These are all some attributes already there. All these attributes I am giving, the corresponding what output will come, I know. This output I know, right? I'm training the mission by giving some inputs and outputs. These are all inputs, these are all outputs. So all x1, x2, x3 all inputs I am giving, and what output I am getting, I will train the mission. So system will understand what type of answer to get, what type of answer as a return. So that is a construction of the model. You will do that. After that, after giving training, what I will do, I have to test the model, whether correctly predicting or not. To know what I have to do, I know the answers. What are the answers here? The Y test. These are the answers. These two answers will be predicted. These are the actual values. Actually, some people will call like that actual values. These are actual. These are all predicted values. You test on this data. You test on this data, and these predictions you compare with your actual data. What I am doing, whatever I have predicted, that data I am comparing with my actual data. Then I know that if it correctly classified, whatever predictions you have done correctly classified according to your actual values, then your model is very good. Whether if it is not doing correctly or not, how do I know? I know the confusion matrix and the accuracy, the evolution metrics are there, right? So predictions, the whatever you do, value. According to, I will go to my Python implementation demo so that you have an idea. So see, very important is I will give you a set of commands. Printing and executing is not matters, nothing, but you know the fundamental concepts, right? So how many I have divided total data set, how many types? 4 varieties: X train, Y train, X test, Y test. Okay. So X train, Y train, X test, Y test, 4 I have done. So that training and testing is doing by the Python. See, it is already doing. All these are available for you. Only you have to think where to do, how to do, what to do. Only you have to know. Okay. And cross validation, to know that this one, and the stratified k-fold cross validation, I think someone has explained. Again shortly I will tell you. Suppose 10-fold cross validation means 10 folds are there. First one I will take as the this is for testing purpose, the remaining are all training purpose. Next time I will repeat that first frame, including into the your training set, and take another one is your second one is your testing. The remaining are all training. The third iteration, you take the third part is the third data point or module is the testing purpose. The remaining are all training. Like that you do it. Okay, ma'am. So and like this, k-fold cross validation will help you. Please, any problem is there, please let me know. Otherwise, I would like to go fastly. Directly, I want to show my symbol. All these I will share it to you. Let me wait. Yes. Come to here. Please, if you understand thoroughly this is implemented, this demo for implementation purpose, I explain, no? Check it. Here, data frame I said, no? Data frame main advantage is what? For analysis part, I am taking car data. Already you know these all you have to import packages. All import packages here. I think, is it visible? Is it visible? Anyone, please? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And first of all, the importing packages, pandas as PD. PD is my object. Pandas is my library, right? NP is my object, and for NP, all this you are aware of it. SQL Learn I have used. Seabot is also visualization tool like Matplotlib. With Matplotlib on above, it will show more impressive manner. The themes will be presented. That's it. More or less same. Okay. And one more is VAF. VAF is what I said, to know the multicollinearity, whether your attributes are similar or not, or your columns are similar or not in your given data set. To understand that, this VAF I have to use it. For typing, it take time, so that simply copying is very easy. I have experimented. Here, all these statistical model is my package. Under the statistical model, stats are the sub package, and outliers influence is another sub package. There my class is available, variance inflation factor. Now check here. I am taking, for example, the car data set is here. Car data set consists of, and see that describe, whether you experienced or not, describe will tell you all the rows and columns. Data will give you how it is looks. See in what are the attributes here in my data set? Symbolic, symbolic and wheelbase, length, width, height, curb weight, engine size. I'm talking about the car. Car will have so many attributes are there, right? Describe will tell you what are the values giving for each attribute and each row. Okay. And here, if you go to first install all packages, pandas, numpy, because matplot is for visualization purpose, sklearn is for to print your all library. Total library is available there for machine learning connected. Machine learning classification, clustering, everything is available in sklearn. Okay. So now come to here. I said very clear, no? Read CSV is a function or a method. In that method, R is a raw string. Compulsory you have to write. If you write raw string, wherever it is there, exactly it will copy your data set. What is my data set? Car price data set. This is my path I have given here under double quotes. Car price assignment is my data set. This is a raw set I am taking under double quotes. Read CSV is what? For reading your data set. What is PD? PD is my object. I have declared above. In pandas, I have declared above. The PD is my object. So through PD, I am storing my data set, because my data set is in terms of the rows and columns. Data frame consists of rows and columns, no? So that I am storing. My object name is CR. CR is my object name. Simply I have printed CR. CR is giving what? Entire data what is available in data set is giving. How many rows and columns are here? How many rows or columns are here? 205 rows and 26 columns. It is representing here if you observe. Your data set will present here 205 rows and 26 columns. Come to here. And the renaming facility is also there for your purpose. What is the renaming will do? Whether suppose your attributes names are something earlier my data set having with different names wrongly printed, so that I want to change it. How you will have rename your file in the similar way. There is no special, but the syntax is CR is my data set. My data set object dot rename. My method consists of what are the columns names. Write it with your new names. In place is equal to true. Yes, whatever I am giving that is correct. In dictionary, you have to mention this is a dictionary. Cursive bracket will show the your keys and values with column, right? So in place of make fuel type like that, the wrongly printed that I am correcting. That is renaming purpose is also available. And come to the point. Correlation, scatter matrix. I said the inference. I said no. Whenever for a BTech student or MTech student, whenever you give a machine learning project, what you have to do? Where you're doing programming is not good, it's not that much good. You have to identify where exactly you're getting problem, are highly correlated or not, any redundancy is there or not, any missing data is there or not, is have you done a pre-processing or not, have you chosen correct algorithm or not, everything you have to check it. So here, what is the observe? Correlation will tell you what? The row, this row is consists of all attributes, whatever all attributes in our data set, right? This column also car ID, symboling, wheelbase, car, like that. Column you are taking a same attribute to attribute relation. You are identifying one attribute to another attribute. So many attributes are there. How many attributes are there in your here? 26 attributes are there. 205 samples are there in a data set, right? So out of all 26 attributes, which attribute is more similar data is representing? If you more highly correlated means what? Same type of data is, if I am doing in my data set, accuracy will not come fast, which is showing good accuracy. It will show always, because same column is repeating number of times. I will observe, say for example, correlation. CORR is the method which help you to what relationship between each attribute to another attribute. Suppose, for example, I want to check this is engine size check. For example, I'm showing engine size and car width. Car width is the engine size in row. I'm showing car width is here on column. Right. What is the answer here? 0.73 probably, which is high. 0.73 is giving similar to anywhere you are getting the same type of data. Is it highly correlated or not? To know, is it out of all total data, please check 0.15, 0.12, 0.17, 0.05, like that. Out of all attributes, which attribute is more impacting your model? Which attribute is impacting your model? Engine size and your car width. For example, I'm showing here because directly I'm seeing 0.86 also your curb weight. Your car width also 0.86, which is high, which is impacting your model. Similarly, 0.73, which is impacting your model. See how you will get this data. Usually people will think that the implementation, how you will get this data? Simply if you write your data set, load your data set with your object, shift enter, it will give you the data. Getting the data is one thing and inference is another thing. So do the inference here. So 0.73, which impacting your model. And if I go to the scatter plot, by seeing this graph, I have an idea about car width and price. If I increase the car width, is my price will increase or not? Pictorially, I want to see. If I increase my car width, is my price will increase or not? On x-axis, I took a car width, and if on y-axis, I took car price. Let us. So if you increase at a particular area, if you keep at 64 by that time, it is good, right? More points are there. More people are having this price ratio is 10,000 is there. At this, more data points are here. So with this scatter plot, you can judge if you increase car width, your price is increasing or not. Or if you increase your engine size or performance of engine size increased, then your price is increased or not. By seeing scatter plot and correlation, you will judge that your how your attributes are correlated, highly correlated, or negatively correlated, positively correlated. Negatively correlated means when one is decreasing, one point is decreasing, another point is also decreasing. Positively correlated means what? One point is increasing, another point is also will increase, right? The correlated means how it is related will tell you. So correlation and scatter plot will because there are statistical plots methods. If you go to the box plot is also there, directly available. There is no specialty here. Please check. The box plot is a method, consists of my CR. CR is my object, car object. Engine size I want to know. For this engine size, what is happening? I want to know as a box plot. Box plot will tell you, if you draw, what are the outliers are there? How many outliers are there? What are they? You can identify with the box plot. Scatter plot, box plot, all these will come under the matplotlib. Okay. So inference is important. And come to here. And I'm talking about this is pre-processing as a part to eliminating null values, eliminating unnecessary data is important, right? That is a part of that. Wherever question marks are there, wherever data is not available, so many ways are there. By taking average of that column, replace with that number, that is one way. Another way is simply remove that record, is another way. So by that is a pre-processing also is available here. And unsupervised learning, I said no, dimensionality reduction also, you will through this VAF will help you. Unsupervised learning also include here. I'm not doing any particularly user intervention is not there for unsupervised learning. Dimensional reduction will do what? Which are redundant, which are irrelevant, not necessary for your data, useless data is there, remove it. That is also as a part of this. So unsupervised learning is also covering parallelly, please observe, right? So VAF, here in VAF, what is that? Multicollinearity, I said no, example. So observe, multicollinearity, what I am doing here, CR is my object, and select data types. This is a method I have. Exclude, exclude is a default keyword in the Python, and object is whatever the strings are there, that you suppose in my data set consists of numerical data, float type of data, string type of data may be there, but object nothing but the string type of data, exclude it and do it. Why I should exclude this string type of data? Because if you do the any string type of data, yes or no kind of answer in your data, you cannot evaluate yes or no. Why suppose male M, female F, like that is there, you cannot evaluate. So that such type of strings, remove it for your prediction, right? So you are doing exclude object, nothing, string type of data, all data types except strings. That simply automatically except strings it will give you. Next, come to here. What is this? Variance inflation factor. Whatever I have done the same. Here you want to see all the data VAF ascending order. You want to sort it. All VAF factors are there. Wheelbase, which is impacting more, which is highly correlated. If I want to check, right? That wheelbase is 2054 and so on. Length is 1837 and so on. If you keep in sorting order, that is possible. So for this implementation of this VAF, sort values is a method, consists of VAF is your name of this, and keep in an ascending order with the help of the package calc underscore VAF, right? That you do. Next one, car info. Info is describe info, almost also describe will tell you all type of data. Info will tell you what are the non-null values are there or not, null values are there or not, will tell you. Observe full information about your data set. Here the D type is object. Object means the strings. The first 7 are string type of data is here. Next float type of data answer is here. Here you have integer type of data is there, int 64 like that. Float type of data float 64 like that. So it's miscellaneous types of data is there. When I exclude object, by that time it will not appear. But in info is a method, helps you to know about your data set. That data set consists whether null or not. If so, what are they? For this example, so many attributes are there. All these columns, all these are all different column parameters. If you observe, all these are all attributes. All attributes are not null, means no missing values are there, no question marks are there, no empty is there. Sometimes data set may have empty, right? So like that. Come to here, another one, drop. What is drop? Drop will help you to place where the columns wheelbase, length, width, height. Why I am dropping? Because of my VAF. Because which is highly multi-collinearity is there. Wheelbase is highly correlated. Similar type of data is available in another column. So even if I perform model, it will give you 100% accuracy or good accuracy. There is no use. So redundancy I want to delete. Similarly, length, width, I want to delete because which is in high, in highly correlated. So what I do here, I will remove wheelbase, length, width, height. Based on my VAF data, all these are all highly correlated, means redundant. I want to drop from my data set. So CR is my data set, is an object of my class, and drop is my method, which will drop. Those columns will be removed from my, because which is very unuseful, which is giving a lot of disturbance or redundancy. So I'm removing. And another one is remove null. Nulls are there. Suppose sometimes in my data, some question marks will be there, empty spaces will be there. There by that place, I want to place with the nan. Nan also will be there. Or simply remove also. Here replacing is doing. Here, wherever a question mark is there, nan you are replacing. That is one of the method is available. Another one is check here. Yeah, this is a data set. Come to the here manually. This is all our attributes. With that attributes, converting some features manually if you want to, right? Yeah, dropping nulls. This is a pre-process step. Dropping nulls, whatever. How do you drop? Drop NA wherever nulls are there. Simply write in that place wherever nulls are there. In that nans are there. No, those are all nulls. Is equal to true, means such a type of nulls you drop it, means such records will be removed. Please observe earlier, after, have you remembered our data set is 206 rows and 26 columns? Have you remembered? Very starting have shown 206 rows and 26 columns. My data set maybe some nans and question marks and are there. The question marks I have replaced with nan. That I am removing with this help. Drop NA means I am removing that particular row from my data, because no use such empty spaces row is there for evaluation purpose. It's not useful for me. So after removing, my data set is how much rows. First one is gives the rows. Second one will go the columns. 151, 159 rows are there. 26 columns are there. Okay. And is null. If you want to identify after removing, you want to check your data set, is there any still nulls are there or not? Check here. It will present you the sum function. And another one is, yes, include. If you go to include all. Include all means what? Initially, the strings are there that will not allow you. Describe will give you without strings. Suppose if you write a parameter like this in method describe, include is equal to all, it will give you including string data also in your data set. So include is equal to all means whatever the data is there, everything will be given to you. If you write simply describe, which will not give you string type of data. So here see, nan is there. Before removing null, I am showing this. After removing null, these nans will not be appear. And removing outliers also, if you want to calculate, you will have the mean value, I said no, which are not necessary for you. For that, by keeping the if loop, simply based on the price, which are not required to me, that if I want to remove outliers will be helpful for you. And the multi-collinearity, I said, and yes, it's very important. Encoding is also a part of the pre-processing technique. Whatever you do, wherever you have to label encoder is a method. Here label encoder is a you have to import from the pre-processing package, sub package, which is again in the sklearn, scikit-learn, right? So that import that label coder. What you do here, simply you observe here any nulls are there in your data set or not. If all are non-nulls, it's okay. If some nulls are there, again you have to, using labeled encoder, you have to make it zeros and ones, convert into zeros and ones, transforming zeros and ones, which is a pre-processing technique. Okay. And sampling and one more is Rand n or rand. Rand n is the normal distribution. Rand is the uniform distribution. And the sampling, I want to take 80-20 like that. No, shape will give you a dimension, rows and columns. And the selection of fitting here, suppose if I want to take, say, for example, linear regression as the one of the classification of same type, you can apply same procedure. In place of linear regression, if you want to do KNN classification, keep KNN classification. If you want to random forest, keep random forest, like that. Okay, the concerned package and the class you have to write in your import. And here what I'm doing here, xtrain and ytrain. I think time up. I will quickly complete in a less moment because I need to do this. Yes, fit. Fit is what your total training data will be there. In total training data, shape, it will give you the your dimension of your data. Here, actual R square, R2 train, R square will tell you for your x-axis and y-axis relation will tell you. Suppose it's 0 means there is no relation between attributes. If it is 1 means R square data is 1 means some relation is there. Then your model is correct. You are doing correctly in a direct direction. So based on that, first of all, before going to your project, Python project, you should know what is R square, what is pre-processing, what is a data set, is there null is there, is it linearly separable or not, what type of data, is it a categorical data or a continuous, discrete or continuous data, like that. All this preliminary you have to understand thoroughly. Then you can write quickly. Writing the program is nothing here. Please check here. So xtrain shape and ytrain shape I am taking, and particularly I will go to my topic. I have experimented so many. You can go to this. I will mention with example. Yes, classifiers. So many classifiers. I have taken KNN classifier. Come to here. In this classification, check. In an example, only one example I'm giving here. One transformer data is my data set name. I'm downloading using read CSV, and also I have downloaded other packages also for different purposes. TMF transform, no, TMF is my object I have created, right? TMF dot drop axis is equal to 1 means, please understand, this is axis is equal to 1 means last column. What is the last column? I said very clear, there is a class label. Class label you have to store in some place, right? So you drop the last column for the entire data set. And so after dropping, you have the remaining data set. So after doing that, xtrain, xtest, ytrain, ytest, you will do with the help of train test split method. Train test split method already available in scikit-learn, which I am importing. There you have the three parameters. One is the x data, y is the another data, x is the attributes data, y is the class labels data, and test size is what? How much you want to do, 60-40, either I can give train size or test size. Automatically system will understand. If I give train size 80, 0.8, remaining is test 0.2. Otherwise you give test size is 0.2, it will understand train is 80%. Okay, like that you have to split. This is a splitting of your training and testing. And label encoder, why should I do this? Convert, transforming your data to ones and zeros, which helps you. And k-nearest neighbor, I'm doing my k-nearest neighbor data, how much I'm taking. And what is confusion matrix will give you the how many correctly classified, how many wrongly classified, to know the principal diagonal elements and reverse diagonal elements. Already I explained. Classification report will tell you precision recall and F-score, right? And for your particular data set. And here please observe, I am testing. Yes, come to this important point, check. KNN is my object of KNN classifier class. I am fitting by providing the training data, xtrain and ytrain. I am model construction is happening at that line. Afterwards, what I will test, I told you, no, we have split it into the 4 varieties. One is a Y prediction, rightmost corner, bottom corner, I have explained in the diagram. That is the Y predict I am taking. There I am storing my X test, which I want to actual value, strictly to say the X test is my actual value. The predicted values you are comparing here X test with the Y predictor. Sorry, Y test is my actual value. X test is my you are testing on data, right? Both you are comparing. Here you are comparing. Check. Y test is my actual value. Y prediction is my after testing predicted values. My predicted values are compared with the your test data, which I am showing as a confusion matrix. For this, you also giving precision, recall, and accuracy, its own advantage and disadvantage. Precision recall will give you how many are false positive, false negative, true positive. All these F1 score also will concentrate on false negatives and false positives only. Very important F1 score. Based on that also how many wrongly classified you can identify, right? And so this is you can do in the Canaan classification. So yeah, here 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 are what correctly classified. 4, 5 are the correctly classified. 3 and 2 are the wrongly classified. And precision recall F1 score will tell you some measurement or some metrics for your or some report will give you for your model.
Dr. Padmaja, can I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
Can you sum up by 2, 3, 4 minutes more, because next session is going to be start on
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's finished.
12:15.
Actually, yes, sir.
Okay.
So this is a total. This is a total scenario. First, how to load it, how to summarize it, how to visualize it, whether VAF multicollinearity is there or not, and training and testing, and evaluate your actual values and predicted values. Make a confusion matrix. Based on that, you take a decision. This is the overall view. Same thing I can do with the other also logistic regression and random forest, same procedure, decision trees. But I have explained for only logistic KNN algorithm. Earlier logistic regression also have shown a second example. With this, I hope it will help you to some extent. I would like to conclude the session. If anything is there, you can. Otherwise, I will stop the session.
Ma'am, can you please share this notebook?
Sir? Yes, sir, sure, 100%. Sure, sir. I will share all that experimentations I have done. That I will share it to you. And the PPT, whatever I have shown, also very important to research group. I will share.
Yes, so participant may raise any question. Quite 1-2 minutes more. If you have any query, kindly ask from the speaker. Because it was very wonderful session, and really Madam has elaborated all the aspect of this implementing supervised and unsupervised learning models by taking many various examples. Okay, so our project monitoring committee member Dr. R.N. Patel sir is also present, so I welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It was very
sir,
nice.
Because you are the observer on behalf of Technical University and AICT.
Yes. Yeah,
so
yeah, right.
If you have any comment on this particular session, kindly share your view.
Sir, I felt that all the sessions, students was there, so they're all very practical, and I think they're very much useful, because the great thing is that the speakers are giving the examples. It's hands-on. So only thing I want to say is that, as somebody said, if this is available to all the examples are available to the candidates, they can test it on themselves. That's what I want to say, sir. Thank you, sir. It was very wonderful.
Correct. Thank you.
So if the examples are given to the participants, so for the hands-on kind of thing, so that will be very helpful. Thank you, sir.
Over to Dr. Partha Rao.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone wants to ask any question or query? Actually, if you are asking, then it makes more, you can say, magnified our theme and mission. Okay, so if you have any query, then Dr. Padmaja is well expert in this particular area. So anyway, my question is that which evaluation criteria is best from accuracy and precision point of view?
Sorry, here it is actually depends on the application to application. It will vary, sir. On
Okay.
which area the actually false positives, false negatives will concentrate here. I said no. False positives is high or low, or wrongly prediction is we will concentrate much. Based on that only we will judge whether we are doing correct manner or not. Even we have the train and validation and testing also there. If you observe strictly in the neural networks, validation test will help you in such a way that whether you're doing in correct manner or not, we'll do the validation test. Test only at a final model only, whether correct or not will tell you, only output will give you at a test set. Validation, majority of the people doesn't know that about the validation test. Validation test will do what? If I include so many layers, hidden layers, how many neurons are required at each layer? If I increase more number of layers, is it correct or not? Like that, it will help you for the validation. It means different types of values, you will experiment it. That is the validation.
Correct. Because it is also very much important for the sensitivity calculation, and you can say the specificity calculation, and also important for the calibration point of view.
Yes,
So
sir.
nice presentation. Over to Dr. Partho Rao ji.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Padmaja ma'am, for giving some elaborate explanations and giving vivid examples on all the topics related to implementing supervised and unsupervised learning models using Python. So thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time and knowledge.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much for all of you for giving me this opportunity. I hope I have done with my little knowledge in front of you here to share
No.
my.
It was very enlightening speech, and you have stimulated all you can the parameters which are required for this particular topic. So we are very thankful, madam.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so
You are
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
all of
ma'am.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
So the next session will start from 2:15, session number 14. The topic will be neural networks, training neural networks and testing. The speaker will be Dr. S.K. Subid Ali from IIT Bhilai. Dr. Ali, I think, has not joined now. I hope he will join at 2:15. So we'll just wait for 2-3 minutes.
Partho sir,
हाँ sir.
you are saying 2:15, 12:15 na?
Sorry, 12:15 sir. 12:15. Sorry.
Yes.